It's that night. We are 1 hour from the Raiders invading what we used to call Invesco Field, which is historic because it was the place that the first black Democratic, no, yeah, I, Democratic nominee. Let me turn that down there. For president, Barack Obama was coronated. I was there. You might have been there too, Mitch. Uh, that was wow.
Couple cousins were there. I missed that one.
Oh yeah, I was there. That was a privilege for my company to be on the list. Uh, but that's what I remember when I think of what used to be called Invesco Field. It's not called that anymore. Um, Invasion Day, Invasion Night. What do you say?
It's taking over, man. Raiders take over every stadium anyway.
Yes, sir.
If
Yes,
you've ever
sir.
been on the road, it's nuts to see how many Raider fans that travel and actually absolutely live in all these cities as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I remember when we went to the Houston NFL owners meeting, and that was during the time. It was 2016. That was during the time of the talk of moving, and I didn't realize there was such a large Houston Raiders booster club, right?
Yeah.
I mean, still blown away over the people that I met then now. But, you know,
I and I don't know if I mentioned it last week, but I again was in New York, ran into George Atkinson, Lincoln Kennedy, and Max Crosby. They were all signing. This is before Max blew up, and I think after we talked last week, I was like, that was Max in there with them. So three Raider legends
Raider
at this bar,
DNA.
and so I go to this bar, Midtown, and had a fantastic time. And Ken Stabler's Kim was there. His daughter and his wife were there, and they said follow us to this next bar. So I go across, I don't know, 5 blocks, and I mean, this one was a smaller one. They said no, go around the corner. That's where everybody's going to. And there was this huge venue, a bar, grill, and I mean, it must have set 300 people, and it was all Raider fans. I mean, it was insane. I mean, the amount of people in this place, all in silver and black, and half of them were from the East Coast, and they were going crazy. Now, and I tell you this because I spent maybe an hour and a half there, and I was like, "Holy crap! I got to get out." I was going to the Knicks game. I go all the way down to Madison Square Garden, go to the game. I come back. Now there's 500, if not more, Raider fans, all clad again in silver and black. And I mean, this thing, they were going crazy. And I looked at my watch. I'm like, holy crap, I got to get out of here and get some rest. And I mean, it took everything I had to leave because it was so much fun. But I say this to say that when you go on the road to Raider games, somebody's throwing a party somewhere. and we're talking the night before or the day before. And not the tailgating, but the night there's something going on and Raider fans descend on it. I don't know how they find it or how they keep up with one another, but there's some sort of silver and black network out there that they all tune into, and it is insane. I've run into people that I hadn't seen since high school at some of these in Atlanta. I hear my name being called.
Here.
I'm like, yeah, I'm like, I know they're not calling me, but I looked anyway, and they're like, it's crazy, man. Miami, all over the place. It's Raider fans they're everywhere. Everywhere.
What do you think the future of the fandom is? And what I mean by that is, well, just yeah, it's a very open ended because Las Vegas, I think, is it fair to say Las Vegas is still developing as the home? And I defer to you because you work for the Raiders. So what do you think about where we are?
Oh, it's that fan base is definitely developing. You can't help but get on board because think about when the Raiders went to LA. This is the height of West Coast rap coming out. This was the height of crack cocaine hitting the streets. And so the Raider image took this unfair hit that, it was because NWA, they wore the Raider gear, and as did other West Coast rappers out of LA.
Mm-hmm.
It took on this unfair label that gangsters wore the Raider colors. But as a fan and at the team at the time, it was kind of nice to make it feel like, oh my God, if we go there, we're in trouble. So maybe we don't go to these games. And it was almost like scary. And that same mentality is what these new Raider fans in Oakland, when they came back, tried to perpetuate. I don't know if you remember the first few years when the Raiders came back. It was
100%.
It was a rough and tumble atmosphere.
Oh yeah, that coincided with my working for Elihu and as economic advisor, and that was in late '95. And the one thing I'll never forget was the next NFL season. I got a call. This must have been October 3rd from a woman who was really upset because it was right after the Broncos Raiders game, and she called because she wanted me to put her in touch with the Oakland police because someone at the game threw a battery at her kid because her kid was wearing a Broncos jersey.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, how do I deal with this? And I thought, okay, so I helped her out. But I was about to say something, and I'm glad I didn't say it because I think it would have gotten me in a lot of trouble. And today it would have been worse. But I was about to say to her, well, maybe you shouldn't have had your kid wear your Broncos jersey at the Coliseum.
Sure.
You know, I just
well
but
that
kid, right?
And then there's that, right? But so the mystique of the Raiders carries into cities, whether it's on the road, but now that they're in Vegas and they're pulling in these new fans, they've heard about the Raider history. They're seeing it because of all of the Raider characters, the Violator and whomever else dresses up.
Yeah.
The Gorilla. Their presence is in the city. The legends are out in the city, so they're getting a taste of it. And so they hear the history and they're thinking, okay, this is something to get behind. Now, when the team starts winning again, oh my God, that's just a recipe for success, not only on the field, but off the field with the fans. But if you can get the fans to buy in now when you're losing, or not, let's say when you're not doing so well, then you've got some fans for life. And don't forget, Oakland Raider fans are still coming to games in Las Vegas and on the road. Las Vegas Raider fans are coming to game in Las Vegas and on the road. So you've got three places to pull from for fans. And when I go to games and somebody asks questions about the history of the team, I'm going to share it. And they're going to see the passion in my eyes. They're going to hear it in my voice that, oh my God, this is something to be a part of. And then they get indoctrinated into the Raider fan base. And so I do think over time, the more and more people that move to Las Vegas, they're going to have a great fan base, especially when the winning starts to happen like it did when I was a kid in the 70s and 80s and 90s. We won, and the early 2000s, we were pretty good.
This is something I've been rolling around in my head. I haven't vlogged or blogged about the idea yet. But what do you think? I'm rolling this out for the first time. What do you think of having the Raiders back in the Coliseum for an exhibition game?
No.
Oh, really? I'm surprised. Really?
No. I would love it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I would love it. It was August 15th, 1989 when they played the Houston Oilers back in Oakland in the preseason game. Kind of a tester to see if the fans would come out. Those tickets sold out in like 15 minutes.
Sure did. Yep.
I was there, and it was electric. I mean, it was. I'd never felt that in a preseason game, but the electricity in the air, and I still remember because My grandfather went, my dad went, and my brother and I, and my sister and her husband. So 3 generations of Raider fans were at this game, and I'm sure there were other families that had 4 generations. That was something else. I don't think we need to be teased with something like that. It would be nice, but it would hurt. I think it would do more damage than good, because although to do one more tailgate in Oakland would be awesome. Maybe in the future, I don't know. Don't get me wrong. I'm ambivalent on this one, because the fan in me would love it, but the practical side of me would be like, dude, don't tease me with this. That's like a girl pulling her skirt halfway up to show you a little something above the knee, and then so you can buy her a drink, and then she goes home with someone else, and I forget about it. Yeah.
I think the reason why I like the idea is because of, I think the NFL has forgotten what it was like to have the Raiders at the Coliseum, and I say that because, well, let me play with this for you. From the commissioner. It's just from, this was how many years ago when this happened? This was 3 years ago at the NFL owners meeting that I attended, covered. I asked Roger what he thought about the AESCG's efforts to bring NFL football back, as well as Byron Allen's efforts to buy, at the time he was trying to buy the Broncos, if you remember. And here's Roger. I'm gonna have to change the volume a little bit here so that you can hear his turn off the cancellation for a minute, and then you can hear NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell. Let's see if I can. Whoops. Well, let me put that off there. It's not what I intended to do. What I intended to do was put this in theater mode. Yeah, that's better. So it's wider screen. Yeah. So, all right. This is Roger. The NFL owners meeting, Zenny 62 Media was there. This is 3 years ago.
Position around the matter of minority hiring, there's also minority ownership. And you have Byron Allen, who's interested in owning the Broncos, and in Oakland, the group that has the E&A on the Coliseum that wants to bring the NFL back to Oakland. How close are you? How close are we to getting minority ownership? Because in the case of Oakland, Loop Capital, they have $3 billion lined up already. So how close are we to getting minority ownership in the NFL from your estimation? Where are we?
Well, Zang, I think you know,
you.
we passed a resolution with the point and the principle that we wanted anyone bidding on a franchise to consider minority ownership. The good news is in the Broncos case, we had several, and that was a very positive development. We'll see how it ends up. But I think we've made it very clear that's something that we intend to do and want to have happen.
As a quick follow-up, do you see like a kind of a symposium to find out who's out there who has money? Because there's a kind of a darkness there.
That one's in, because we've been dealing with this for decades and looking and working with potential groups that are interested in doing it.
Thank you.
Now, he laughed. You couldn't hear it because of the way that it was a little off-timed, but he actually laughed when I mentioned AASCG.
When Donald Trump goes to sleep at night, there is one man in his nightmares.
And stop that. He actually laughed. And I thought, wow. And it's too bad. I'm going to have to go back and retime that. But in the actual environment, I thought, wow. And it wasn't, Oakland has this fan base and we need to tap into that again. It was literally like, in other words, are you kidding? That was his reaction, Mitch. And that's why I think that we need to have the Raiders back to remind people that the energy is still there, because I believe that it is.
Oh, it would be. You'd have everyone dusting off old hats and jackets and barbecue grills. It would be a spectacle, to say
Yeah.
the least. But it would hurt because it would really, unless they did it once a year. We're gonna do this for the Oakland fans once a year. That could be nice.
Well, I'm thinking. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm not thinking of it as a nicety. I'm thinking of it as a demonstration, as a reminder, which would be a primal scream, yet again, just like Houston, just like when the Houston game so many years ago, of what the NFL lost.
Okay.
Right.
All right, just to play the devil's advocate here.
Yeah, please.
And not just because, just take the Raiders out of the equation.
Mm-hmm.
What cities around the country have 2 football teams, 2 basketball teams, 2 baseball teams, 2 hockey teams?
Nick, well, of course, L.A., New York.
Yep.
And after that, it goes peters out.
Well, Chicago has 2.
Chicago, right?
They have
Chicago,
2 baseball teams.
right? Chicago.
But these teams were established years ago,
mm-hmm.
when television wasn't as prevalent as it is, when really you just went to games. Because you remember back years ago, you'd get the A's schedule, the Warriors schedule, just to see which games were televised, so you knew exactly when to be home.
Yeah.
Because they didn't televise all the games. There were only a select handful. And so you wanted to make sure that you saw them so that you got a chance to know your teams. Well, now everything is televised, and they could put a team in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, Idaho. People would still see it. Maybe not enjoy it in person. But the point I'm making is that they don't want as many teams in markets. They want to spread it out.
Mm-hmm.
But because the Mets came in the 60s, the Yankees long time established there, but the Mets came in. Well, let's go back even further. You had the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yankees in town. Giants and Dodgers come west, leaving the Yankees, and then the Mets came in about 8 years later after the Giants and the Dodgers left. And then you have the White Sox and the Cubs. Then you had Oakland had the Giants and the A's. I mean, if you drew a line across, they were pretty close. Angels and Dodgers aren't that close proximity wise. It's pretty good distance. So you could draw from different fans, because actually Angels are in Orange County. But the point I'm trying to make is that you're not going to find too many cities modern day with 2 or metropolitan areas with 2 of the same sports franchises.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why Oakland will probably never get another major league team, whether it's baseball, basketball, or football, because they've got the Niners in town, even though they're down in Santa Clara. You've got the Giants right there, and you've got the Warriors. Why would you bring it? I don't think a franchise would allow another team to invade them, unless the Raiders still hold the rights to the East Bay. And
actually, they do.
Okay.
Yeah, but also and I'm only speaking in terms of the Bay Area, not any place else. Aside the Bay Area, as my mom's saying, that the Bay Area, saying about what I was about to say, but the Bay Area has a natural division point. It's the Bay.
Mm-hmm.
So because of the Bay, it almost screams, you got to have another team in Oakland, man, because they got one, right? And
well, no. So what it screams is the big brother, small brother, little brother complex that Oakland and San Francisco seem to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because if this was any other place, if this was New York, we would just be a borough of San Francisco City, kind of. Yeah, absolutely.
No,
Yeah,
you're there, but not. See, you touched on something. You touched on something, my friend, that ignites my 1987 to September 16th when I was hired by the Oakland Redevelopment Agency to work for Oakland Juices. Because then talk like that was sacrilege. The idea is that Oakland too could be bigger than San Francisco, because really we are, right? Okay.
Could be.
Yeah. But the late Warren Chip Brown, who hired me to be Montclair's first black columnist in '93, and was also a Cal grad, we would huddle in his office and think of ways to put Oakland on top. T. Gary Rogers, CEO of Dryers, had the same idea. We wanted Oakland to be number one. We didn't want to take a backseat to San Francisco.
Well, Zinni,
And we believe that the force of economic development can make that difference.
it could,
Yeah, and we were right,
but it's not happening.
because we have a different mentality of running it. They're happy. I mean, look, I got off to Lauren Taylor about this. You know, Libby had that snail, right? And she took the snail over to San Francisco to drive it when the Warriors, talking about when the Warriors won the championship in San Francisco. And I remember thinking, wow, so we're just gonna go over there and like party like it's 1999 in San Francisco, as opposed to saying, hey, you know what, we got to get a team in Oakland. That was our mentality. Was, you know what, Oakland first.
Well, I understand, and I'm with you, but there was a thing back in 1977, 78, 79, somewhere in there, where Donald Trump was going to put a 68-story building in Oakland. And guess what Oakland said? We don't want it, because there's an ordinance in Oakland that you can't build over 300 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So as not to block the lake view. And it's like, what? I mean, we finally have a building that's taller than that. And
I remember that. And I'll tell you when that came up, you know what I did? Well, you don't know.
Well, so no, let me just finish. Just hold that.
Yeah, sure.
So,
you're gonna love when I'm gonna tell you that.
So the point is that Oakland doesn't know whether it wants to be a big city or a small city. It just they wrestle with that all the time.
Yeah.
Are we a suburb of San Francisco, or are we trying to be a big city? And by all of their actions, they want to be a small city.
No, some do. There's some of us
Well,
who don't like.
that's what we are.
Well,
we are a small city.
There are some of us.
No, I'm not saying.
I understand what you're saying.
We can want to be a big city, and many of us do. But our people in charge, the politicians, the develop, they're not letting a big city sort of development happen here.
Right, and they're costing us money, Mitch.
Well, we talked about it last week.
Right.
If you put the A's and the Warriors downtown, we'd still have them.
Right, but we can still have them now at the Coliseum. Here's why I'm so adamant about this. Do you realize we've lost $12 billion because of that thinking over the last 10 years alone? It's killing us, Mitch.
I know what it's doing. I see it. So Oakland has turned into this sleepy town with nothing to draw people here except the small restaurants and which are nice, and little bars that pop up. But could you imagine a thriving downtown with larger buildings and more hotels? And it would have been, because Oakland is the sunny side of the bay.
Yeah.
And it's warmer here. The Weather Channel said Oakland had the best weather in the world year round, the best weather. And we do. I mean, I don't have to own a winter coat. And during the summer, I don't always have to wear a tank top and shorts, because I could wear long sleeves sometime in the summer, because we go from 40 degrees to 80 degrees.
Right.
Great climate, but people that have run the city for years have opted not to want to be a big city, and it's a shame. And had we opted to be a big city, we would have found a way to keep our sports teams here.
And here's my point. Then, and this is where the rubber meets the road. Jerry Brown got us into where we are with the smallest beautiful thing. Okay,
we talked about it last week. Yeah,
right. And that's got to go, because we're talking about the Lake Merritt and the height limit, but I remember I remember hating that height limit so bad that I actually sat down and I drew a skyscraper on the corner of 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 Harrison and Grand before the City Court building was built, which is actually taller than 300 feet, right? And that was the first scream that, hey, look, we can break out of this. And then, of course, I remember when I was working for a redevelopment agency back then, it was 85, and we had just won the contract to have what we now call the federal building built in Oakland. And it was a war between, Dianne Feinstein was mayor. We beat San Francisco at it. And we beat at San Francisco because George Williams openly said, well, we're going to use the "we're not wacky" card. And that's how we won. That's how we won. We were determined, and that's what I'm saying. We were capital D determined to beat San Francisco at its game. And now we have people in charge who don't care to play that game, and it's hurting us because we are physically bigger than San Francisco.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? So we're letting, and here's what upsets me, Mitch, is that the reason why our hotels are dying, our hotel industry is dying, is because, and I know when I say this, you're going to agree with me 100%. Every single building that's there is there either directly or indirectly because of the tourism that came in because of sports, right? The Hilton,
Hilton's gone.
Yeah. So now what happens when you get rid of all these things?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right?
The Oakland airport is closer to downtown San Francisco than the San Francisco airport. So it just makes sense for people to fly in here, perhaps stay on this side of the bay and then just commute over. But not enough wisdom downtown, not enough wisdom. And it has killed the city. It has killed our sports. And I don't think the sports are coming back. I really don't.
We got to fight. It's a hard fight. It's a hard fight.
I'm looking at the landscape around the country with other cities. I don't think we're going to get our teams back. And if the Raiders played here preseason, I'd love it, but it would hurt. And if they did it every year, great. But to show that, can we handle a team? Sure, we can handle the team. We've done it. But the problem was they lured the Raiders back under the guise that we're going to build you a stadium. And then for 25 years, nothing happened.
Right.
And so, how much can a team take? You told us you were going to build it for us, and then we talked about it last week. The A's blocked every move the Raiders tried to make because they were the tenant in charge at the complex, and now they never got out of the way, and now they're going to Las Vegas. It's like
right, and that's the thing. It leaves a void in an area, the Bay Area, that once we get over this cost issue, we're going to replenish our population in Oakland. I believe we're going to become more attractive because the costs are going to be lower, and that's going to happen sooner rather than later. If we use redevelopment like we used to, it would happen like that. If I were mayor, I would have fixed this in 2 years. I'd fix this problem. Okay, 2 years. That's what we're capable of doing. The trouble is we have people in office who understand tax increment financing. I mean, what is that about, right? These are techniques and mechanisms we've used that built the center of Oakland. This is how we built our government center in Oakland, all right? It's called economic development. And Mitch, we forgot how to do it. But I am telling everybody that's watching this and will watch this now and into the future, we can do it if we put our minds to it. We are lazy. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Oakland has had this problem for 30 years. It doesn't work. Want to work. I remember I was working as an intern. We had this stack of legislation. This goes back to 1985, okay? And this lady named Harriet had these books of legislation that we go through, which would tell us what bills were coming up that we wanted to lobby for or against, right? And no one was reading them. I lobbied to read for them, pun intended. And Harriet gave them to me, and she said, well, I guess you can tell we don't like smart people around here. And sister, too. Yeah. She said that to me, okay? All right? They made it hard for me to do my job. I made a model from scratch. I remember I was my first assignment was as the late Ezra Poor, rest in peace. You know Ezra. Wanted me to go out, and he wanted me to basically clear the what we now call the zone property across from the Coliseum. It was then owned by EB Mud. It was like mud, right? Literally, it was nasty. And he wanted me to clear it, all the large and small pipes, but he wanted it was a secret project. I didn't know it was secret. Okay, and what happened was I called, of all people, the project manager for EB Mud, Joan, and I didn't know her. I just had to stick. I had to stick the document of paper, right? And Joan said, "Who told you to do this?" And I said, "Ezra." She goes, "Fucking Ezra." Look up the phone of me. I called Ezra. He came over. He says, "What did you do that for?" I said, "Well, because you gave me these. You didn't tell me who not to call." So he says, "Okay, well, I got another project for you." So he said, "Look, we have a problem where Emeryville has our redevelopment area in West Oakland, its own boundaries, and I want you to write a memo of how we use tax increment financing." I didn't know what it was at the time. He made me go to the law library and learn it. So I went to Bolt and learned. I wound up learning section 3300 to 33999 of the Health and Safety Code. I spent all night, and so I learned I already knew Lotus 123. I walked in. So like we had a meeting 2 weeks later. I walked in. I rolled out because then you had printouts, right? You didn't have the computer, right? You had printouts. I rolled. It was 8 foot long. Okay. And Hester looked at him and said, "What did you do?" I said, "Yeah, it's called the Area Redevelopment Economic Model." So it became our test bed. We would run different types of economic development scenarios through my model, and they rehired me as a consultant. And so my point is, we don't do that today, Mitch. We don't. This is 2025, and the city of Oakland isn't doing what I did in 1985. All right.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here because you mentioned Emeryville. You look at Bay Street and Emeryville. That project was earmarked for Oakland.
Yep.
We didn't want it. Had that come downtown, and you put the A's and Warriors down, and everything else that's going on down there, the city would be
right. But Bay Street, what you're talking about with Bay Street, I laid the groundwork for that. Were it not for my memo, do you know what would have been where that is? It would have been the EB Mud wet weather storage facility. Yeah, that's why Ezra asked me to do what I did. He didn't know how to do it. Okay, so think about that when you go to Emeryville. You can say that this is Zenny Abraham land. He started this. Okay, that's how it started. All right.
All right.
I'm saying to you, economic development can transform a city. We can get the NFL back to Oakland. We can get the NBA back to Oakland. We can have an Oakland team to compete against the Warriors. All right, we can crush them. And we can have, you think I'm kidding, man? I am not kidding. But it takes this kind of nutty, kind of almost Neanderthalic want to have it, to have it happen.
I would love it. I'd love to have, yeah, I would love it. Now,
Mom says write a book.
Somebody to publish it.
Yeah, I'll let Zenny write the book.
Oh, come on, Mitch! You gotta write a chapter for me, man.
I'll do it. I'll do a chapter. I'll do a chapter
all right,
of all the things that we've done wrong in the past.
Yes.
And I don't know that any other city has made this many mistakes. But anyway, let's forget about Oakland.
Okay.
For a minute, anyway.
Okay.
And talk about our Raiders, man.
Yes, the Raiders. Yeah.
I mean, is the season lost?
No.
Yeah, I mean, we could make a good showing of ourselves. There were mistakes made Sunday.
You tell me, you think the season's lost?
At 2-6? Yeah.
Yeah, 2-6.
Yeah.
My mom says, yeah.
I mean, we could go on an 11-game win streak. I mean, is that wait 17 games? I'm doing the math wrong. We could go on
17,
a
11.
We could do a 9-game win streak.
Yeah.
11. Then sure, we could do that. I mean, it's not over mathematically. However, I think by trading Jacoby Meyer this week against Jacksonville. We've kind of waved the white flag a little bit, and I think we're just positioning ourselves for a high draft pick because we do need to not only draft a dynamic quarterback, we need to draft some offensive linemen as well, because it all starts up front.
All right.
And because we have, with Brock Bowers and Michael Mayer and Genty at the running back, we just need somebody that hands that ball off and doesn't throw interceptions. I mean, Geno killed us with the interception coming out of the half. We only gave up 3, but had we not had that 3 go up against us, what happens at the end of the game?
Right. We
win. But the difference at the end of the game was the missed field goal. There's just so much, man, that there's a fine line between being good and bad, because some teams have all the luck in the world and things seem to fall their way. And for us, they fall on this side of the ledger.
It reminds me of that old song. It's a thin line between good and bad. Yeah, you're right. You're right, though.
Absolutely. And our luck has just been horrible. But I will tell you, Sunday's game against Jacksonville was probably the most exciting Raider game of the year thus far, because we scored the most points this year than any other game.
Yeah,
hopefully,
they threw 4 touchdown passes and we 1 interception, just 1.
Yeah, that 1 was costly, believe me.
Yeah. But you know what it gets to? I want to push back a little bit on your assertion and that we can't do it and explain why I think we can. And because the adjustments between the W and the L are few. One of them is that, to me, the kind of pressure defense that Minnesota Vikings defensive coordinator how come I just met the guy at the owner's meeting. His name just flew out of my mind. I call him the Little General because he's shorter than me, but he coached the Dolphins. But anyway, his pressure defense style, if we adopted it in the memory of the 11 Angry Men defense, remember that, right?
Oh yeah.
I believe that kind of pressure defense would get us the victories we need. It would be very effective against offenses like what the Broncos are about to unleash on us tonight. We play too loose as it is, and I know Mr. Graham has his reasons for that, but I think it's costing us. All right, our problems are one of what I call time motion study in physics. In other words, how much time do I have and do I need to get to what I'm trying to do? And what is it that I'm trying to do? Well, and let's take the case of Geno. Geno has a Roger Staubach problem. And what do I mean? He winds up the ball. When he's winding up, that wind up, the defensive back zero in. So by the time he gets from here to here, they know where the ball is going. They're already zeroed in, and it produces either tips or interceptions. We can stop that by doing something that I learned in Skyline High School. When I was going out for quarterback, Fardella, All-American right? And I was throwing like my quarterback hero. I love Roger Staubach. Staubach was the man for me. But Staubach had this wind-up. Now, why was Staubach the man for me? That's another story. But I'll explain it very succinctly because...
Wait, hold on. You were at Skyline with my brother.
Yeah. Yes, sir. And anyway, but Staubach had this wind-up. I learned going out for quarterback that wind-up was wrong the hard way. And Fardell was saying, I don't know, Mitch, Fardell says, Abraham, you ever pitch rocks? Okay. Pitching rocks is just to put it by your ear, right? And you just throw it, right? That's what Geno needs to do. He needs to pitch rocks from his ear. What does it do? It stops the windup, because the problem that I had then is the same one Geno has now. That's why I call it the Roger Staubach problem. He's got to stop that windup, right? But you would think Chip Kelly would do that. That's why I'm saying Chip Kelly ain't doing a good job, man.
But Gino's gotten old. He's not fast anymore.
Doesn't need to be.
Yes, he does.
A good coach can engineer around that. That's why we need to get
Well,
a chip. Okay. I don't need to spend my years wasting my owner's money, going, well, I'm gonna wait for the next draft. Fix it now. If
so
if we don't have
before
coaches that don't know how to do it, get rid of them.
before we got on this call, guess who I saw walking out of the tunnel?
Who?
Aiden O'Connell. I wouldn't mind seeing him back in there.
No, Aiden, no. You want to know why? Because Aiden doesn't study. He didn't study the offense in preseason. Okay, he needs to study. But my point is, we have a mechanics problem with Chip's offense. And I am not a fan of what Chip is doing. We can't replace him now, but the problems are fixable. Okay?
Well, I don't.
Okay, they're fixable.
I'll disagree with you on the Chip Kelly front. I think it all starts up front with the offensive line, and some of these guys aren't as smart as they need to be. Because I watched a breakdown of the offensive line earlier in the week, and the play call is like, who's blitzing? These guys are calling the wrong things, and so adjustments have to be made. I don't know if you remember the play where Genty blocks the edge rusher, and the right tackle went with him, and then the linebacker came up the gap and got the sack. Like, come on, man. Somebody's got to be communicating. And anyway.
Yeah, you hit it, though. But look,
you can't
Mitch,
blame
you
that.
hit on it.
You can't blame that on the coordinator.
Yeah, you can. You know why?
You need smart offensive linemen, or you dumb down the playbook.
Or maybe you have a guy that knows how to teach it. The offensive court. I've come up with the
offensive lineman would do that.
I've come up with nomenclature. Ask John Gruden why he used my play. I called the read option jet sweep in 2018 because he said I needed ideas. So you remember when the Raiders, Gruden's first game back, we were playing the Rams on preseason. Remember that 60-yard run that he blocked that was called back for holding that Marshawn ripped off? That was my right. That was my play. I designed that. Remember when Derek was rolling out during that? All those were my series. John used my plays. He asked for them. I have the video. Yeah, at the NFL owners meeting that was held at in Orlando to start the season. The NFL annual meeting. John said, "I need ideas," and I thought, well. See, I love the pass, right? But I thought John likes to run, and I'm in love with Gus Malzahn's running schemes. But it occurred to me that Gus Malzahn had never designed at that point a play action system around his schemes. So guess what I did? I did just that, and I gave it to him. And that's why Brian Daboll from the Giants uses it. That's why Mike McDaniel of the Dolphins uses it. That's why Mom says they pay for it. No, unfortunately, they didn't, Mom. My mom is big.
Oh my goodness!
But it's true. But hey, that's why the Chargers used it under Brandon Staley when he was the head coach. They used it, okay. And I chronicled my play being used, up and down because it solved the problem of keeping your quarterback mobile without necessarily needing him to run. So the idea was to fake a read option, okay, but then have the handoff option going the other way. And then at the same time, you had this jet sweep that goes across that becomes what? It becomes a sweep pass. So I can throw to him on this side. All right. And that was very much like what Andy Reid was doing with his version of read option, where depending on where the linebacker was in their slot formations, if the linebacker was outside here, Mahomes would hand it off and go that way. But if he was coming inside, you'd pass it that way, okay? Mine was within that idea, but I felt more elegant. And the proof was in the pudding by the number of times it's been replicated, all right? That's design, man. That's using your brain. The Raiders don't have people that use their brains. They don't. We use Tressman. Remember Mark Tressman put the greatest Tressman It was a great offensive coordinator. We had, Jerry and Tim, right? I think that was the greatest offensive Raider history outside of what Gruden did. Okay.
Well,
Yeah. What's
that team with Tim and Jerry, oh my Lord.
Yeah. Yeah.
That Charlie Garner in the backfield or
they need to dust off that playbook.
Tyrone Wheatley, and then you bring in Zach Crockett for short yards.
We need to dust off that playbook and give it to Chip because he's running the Ohio. He's running the Ohio. I said this before. I'll say it again. He's running the offensive Ohio State, brother. Chip's not. Chip is doing this. I'll just use my Ohio State playbook. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a travesty. He's taking our money, dude.
Well,
and then blaming the players. So the players get blamed for his stupid offense. That's horrible.
We're going to continue to watch. At least I am.
Look, you give me 2 weeks, I'll straighten out like that. They use my ideas. I'm serious. You could tell anybody there's this idiot that thinks that he can. That's me. Okay.
Place the phone call.
Yeah,
I'll be like, that's Zinni's play. Did you
call Mike Taylor? He'll tell you. I sent them the playbook. I came up with another playbook called the Eagle Offense of the NFL. It's a 4x1 that I came up with because I love 4x1s. 4x1, one side, right? Okay. And I came up with this whole cool 4x1, what I call the belly. It's the read option. It's not read option, but it's a one pass belly. The belly is the main play. It features the halfback going in motion to the weak side. He is the primary. You throw it to him as soon as the ball. So you go it that way. Why? Because there's nobody over there. All right. If they play it honest, there's nobody over there to cover them. You got the defender running to catch your halfback. Your halfback already has the ball. You're guaranteed 5 yards right off the bat. If he misses the tackle, touchdown. Okay. Boom. So you can rattle off these plays again and again and again. It's design. These people are lazy.
Right. So
I've covered the Big Data Bowl. I love the Big Data Bowl for that reason.
What do we need to do today to win?
We need to see the 11 Angry Men defense. Look, the Raiders are going to have to play it close and keep everybody like here, right? Because Bo Nix, I mean, you know how you ever sometimes during the summer in the South, these roaches you're like chasing roaches, That's what the Broncos offense reminds me of. I hate it. It's like, stop it out. You got to get up close to stop out so you can crush them, all right? Rather than give them space. Sorry, now you got me revved up, man. I'm ready.
You ready?
I'm ready.
The game is about to come on in a few minutes, and I do need to run, but
yes, sir.
Because I'm running to a friend's house to watch the game, so
this is fun. I'm loving it. Now you got me. My juices have been flowing like this in a little bit. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome.
My mom said the same thing. The game is coming on.
Yeah. I just think we need to simplify things on offense, and
I agree, 100%.
Stop. Put Geno in a position to win, and Brock Bowers is back, so it made it a lot easier for him last week. But you cannot throw interceptions. You would think Tom Brady would be down there. Throw the ball away.
Mitch, and tell me why Tom Brady isn't helping him out. He knows how the ball should be thrown. He should be down there coaching him.
And Tom is probably going crazy. Being the number one announcer on Fox or the color commentator, that requires a lot of time and study as well.
That's true.
You're right. Probably can't devote a lot of time to what's happening on the field. Once the season is over, I'm sure he's going to give his 2 cents and hey, this guy's, we got to get rid of this guy. We need to bring something else in.
Last word. You got it, man. I'll let you run off. I don't want you mad at me.
Oh no. I'll just close the laptop. I gotta go.
Hey, Mitch, don't move much like everybody. Come on back. Spread this around. You can, yeah. because we got some reclamation work to do here.
Well, the city of Oakland, you mean, or the Raiders, or both?
Both.
I'll talk the Raider stuff. The city,
All right, I'll talk the city stuff. There you go.
I'm ready to move.
Oh, you're going to Vegas?
No, I think once my youngest moves out, I want to rent my house and disappear for a couple of years.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Hey, don't go anywhere. Don't move a muscle. I got this. Thank you, everybody.